Hey everyone, how's it going? Long time no see, kind of, right? Started a little bit early to try and give people a little leeway to get in here, so let's wait just a few minutes, maybe, or maybe a minute or so. Looks like y'all have kind of asked some questions before the stream even started, so that's kind of cool. So we can actually start with those. Courtney asked, do we think Six Flags Over Texas is having Fright Fest? I've actually gotten the Fright Fest question a ton. And obviously, we don't really know. They haven't stopped advertising Fright Fest. But if you all follow us on social media, we did post those screenshots of the, what do you want to call it, the survey. So they sent out the survey kind of asking about these Fright Fest alternatives, maybe, houses without actors, drive-through experiences, things like that. So it sounds like they're definitely trying to have some kind of Fright Fest event. We'll just have to wait and see. I think one kind of nice thing about the position that Six Flags is in is that unlike a place like Disney or Universal or, Knott's, they're not selling an extra ticket to the Halloween event. So that kind of gives them a little bit more leeway on that. Someone asked, let's see, is Daredevil Flying Machines at Fiesta Texas going to debut August 1st? I have no idea. They haven't said anything about that ride. I know that it has tested. It for sure has done a test run. I don't know when it's opening. The prime of the summer is already done. So there's probably not a huge kind of sense of urgency to get that thing open at a certain date. So I'm sure they're trying to make sure all the kinks are worked out and stuff like that. But it is still scheduled, I do believe, to open this year. So hopefully that's coming pretty soon. Definitely looks like a fun ride. Let's see. Is there going to be a water ride at Fiesta Texas or a ride in 2021? That's from Aiden. I think one thing we got to understand is that now that the pandemic, is in full force, hasn't slowed down yet, especially here in Texas. The parks are having to run limited capacity. There's several Six Flags properties that aren't even open still. Basically what I'm trying to say is they are just leaking millions of dollars every month, probably. First quarter losses were in the hundreds of millions of dollars, and that was with a couple parks open at the beginning of the year. So I think understanding the severity of the situation, there might not be new rides for a little while, other than the ones that got pushed back to 2021 because of the pandemic. And Six Flags Over Texas, they confirmed that Aquaman is pushed back until 2021, and I actually think that was a pretty good idea, just because things aren't running full force right now, and it'll be a great anniversary ride for sure. Brand new roller coaster, unique roller coaster. So see what else we got here, y'all. Do you think SFOT will get an RMC Raptor in 2022, 2023? I'm gonna kind of sit on my original comment of Six Flags and other theme park companies are bleeding money, and I would recommend that you put that into perspective when you're trying to think about future rides. I mean, SeaWorld is a great example. They can't even pay for the rides that are already built. Six Flags is definitely not really in a different scenario when it comes to financial issues. They were having plenty of financial issues before the pandemic started. Then when the pandemic started, boom, you had just that really just puts you in the ground in terms of your stock, which was already, crashing. Let's see. Everyone is saying hi, so hi to everybody. Blues Drama, Boilermaker Wes, SFOT News. Nick asked, when will Six Flags Great Escape open? I have no idea. It's probably completely dependent on their local government, and I think some states are handling this a lot differently than others. So honestly, I can't really tell you what's going on there because it's enough work trying to keep up with what's going on in Texas. So trying to keep up with all the different things that are happening here and with the pandemic and everything. So hopefully Great Escape will open soon. I've actually never been there, so probably won't be going there, during a pandemic, but I think if you live close by, it's probably a lot different type of situation. And Boilermaker Wes, he said, the parks have been open for a bit this summer. In your opinion, how do you think they've been doing? Are they still consistent with their procedures? Are they seeing attendance they want? I don't think they're seeing the attendance they want, that's for sure. I've only gone to Six Flags Over Texas twice since they've reopened. The first day, definitely not a lot of people there. The second time I went, which was on a Monday, there were even less people there. It was kind of freaky. So they're probably not seeing the attendance they want. It's really unfortunate. Now, I think the water parks are a different situation. It seems like the water parks are as full as they can be. I already don't really like water parks in general, so throw in pandemic and throw in all the other stuff, I really have no urge to go. To answer the rest of your question, I think that the parks have been doing great. I think that Six Flags has been one of kind of the shining stars in this whole pandemic, just as a company, period. Both times I've gone, which were about 2 weeks apart, 2.5 weeks apart, all the team members were generally following what we kind of assumed would be the safety protocol. Goodness. Really hardcore with the, the cleaning and with the social distancing. And the second time I went, Six Flags actually had various team members, throughout the park that were helping ensure the social distancing, helping with the, making sure everyone has their mask on, making sure everyone has their mask on correctly, because as you all probably know, the wonders of wearing a mask correctly have been very difficult for a lot of people, but seems very consistent. And on the front end of what's going on, Six Flags, their new security system is fantastic. It is so convenient, very cutting edge, and that's something that's really going to help these parks, push people through and make things better once we start running full capacity. They do the full temperature scan. They seem to take that very seriously. They seem to take the reservations very seriously. Even the parking lot is socially distanced. So Six Flags has been one of the better places I have visited. So JLM donated $5. Thank you so much, JLM. You asked me if I miss Flashback. No. I do not miss Flashback. I will say this, though. I miss the way that area of the park looked when Flashback was there. And I'm talking about Six Flags Over Texas, of course. As soon as they kind of gutted the rest of Good Times Square and expanded Gotham City back into that area, it really turned into kind of a glorified parking lot carnival. Uh, that's putting it nicely. Um, so it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? I didn't really enjoy riding Flashback, but I definitely missed the way that area of the park looked prior to that. RAK55 asked, "Do you think SeaWorld and Six Flags will merge?" No. Um, Six Flags and SeaWorld, that whole thing already kind of came to a head at one point. There were rumors going around. Quite frankly, I don't think that either could afford each other in their current financial situation. Um, I kind of hope that SeaWorld can hold its own and push through these difficult times because I think the SeaWorld product is unique, and even though they've had financial troubles, it's been very high quality. They've been re-gearing their offerings, adding more rides. With the pushback of the Blackfish documentary, I think they handled that really well. Their food quality is great. It's just a different world than Six Flags, and I would hate to see it be compromised with that type of thing. The Six Flags parks, though, I will see what happens there. I could see a couple of those parks falling off to Cedar Fair, maybe falling off to Hershend. You didn't hear that from me, but there's nothing confirming that, of course. But just with the way things are going, I could totally see that happening. Jay Kite said, "Love the shirt. Thank you so much. This is actually for sale in our merch shop, which there should be a link in the description. So if y'all are interested, check that out. Any merchandise that we sell, all of that money is going to be donated to Give Kids the World. So it's going to a good cause. And for those of you who have bought merchandise from us so far, thank you a ton." Yeah, and Wes, just to kind of touch back on your whole thing about the pandemic stuff, um, everyone working at the park when I've gone both times have been in, really good moods. They've been efficient considering what's been going on. They, uh, you know, food service has been good. Obviously, I haven't been to Fiesta, Texas, but Six Flags Over Texas, I mean, mobile ordering at all of your main food places, it's been super efficient and really nice to not have to, pay physically. You can pay on your phone. They've managed that system really well. They all seem to be well versed in it. Getting into the park, it's very organized. So, Six Flags for me is kind of the place, like if you're going to go have fun, it's kind of the one surefire place I feel like is really taking into consideration all of the situations, and doing their best with guidelines and safety. Brian Cunningham, I am doing great. Said you're from Six Flags St. Louis. I know you've been on the live streams before. Still haven't been there. Wes, while I hate talking about doom and gloom, what do you think we will lose from all this? Anything closing for good or only open seasonally / busy time? The Texas Six Flags parks have reduced their, their operating schedule throughout the summer. Both parks are closed, 2 days out of the week now. So that's probably helping them with operating costs a little bit when they're not very busy. I don't know about losing anything. We might see some restructuring of the company, but I think that's going to happen to a lot of companies, not just theme parks. So we'll just have to kind of see. Six Flags has been very quiet. I don't know if y'all have caught on to that. They've been very quiet during this. They've just kind of opened the parks they can open, and they're operating the best they can right now. And like I said before, they're doing a great job. So, Happy 5445 asked, "Do you think they will ever bring back Flume 1?" No. I kind of waiting for it to fall over, to be honest with you, and kind of waiting for Flume 2 to fall over, to be honest with you. Don't know if y'all have looked at Flume 2 lately at Six Flags Over Texas. It's not really in better shape. You know, they built El Diablo in front of the run off for Flume 1, and or Flume 2, excuse me. So you have, Flume 2, and then you have El Diablo kind of sitting in front of the final drop. And they painted the trough of Flume 2 so that when you're waiting in line for El Diablo, it looks better than it actually is. And I don't think it's in great shape either, unfortunately. And log flumes, they're kind of not on the up and up anymore. Kind of fallen off to the wayside, so it doesn't really bode well. Rapids rides have kind of made a resurgence, so maybe that'll happen with flume rides. But if there's going to be any kind of flume stuff happening at Six Flags Over Texas, it would probably include them tearing down the flumes they have now and completely rebuilding. But I don't really see that happening. Let's see. So Jay was asking about Coasting for Kids and Give Kids the World. They're only doing it at Fiesta Texas this year, and it's at the end of April. That is something we're going to kind of set up our fundraising thing here in the near future. I gotta get to work on that. But basically, all of the revenue we've gotten from merchandise sales, and all of the revenue that I've gotten on the Patreon account is all going to go towards Coasting for Kids. So if you've bought something from me or supported me in any way, that money is going to go to great use. Give Kids the World is a super fantastic organization. I don't know if I'm going to physically be at the Coasting for Kids event at Fiesta Texas this year, but I'll definitely participate to the best of my ability. Aiden asked if park presidents decide what ride they'll get and theming, or Six Flags just assigns that to each park. Well, Six Flags Over Texas is actually owned. It's kind of a limited partnership, and Six Flags just manages the park. I know that sounds crazy, but it's the truth. So I think there's, I think they have a lot of say in how money is being spent. The partnerships that actually own the park. I'm sure the park president has a little bit of say in that, but ultimately it's up to the people who have the money in their hands. And there's not a ton of that money going around because all of the money that Six Flags makes, they give pretty much completely back to their investors. So they just, I don't know. Jim Reed Anderson didn't really do them very many favors, so I'm hoping that the new CEO of Six Flags, it really seems like he has guest experience much more in the forefront than Jim Reed Anderson did. I hate to say that, but hopefully that bodes well for the parks. I was asked favorite memory at the park, either over Texas or Fiesta Texas. Oh, man. My favorite memory at Six Flags Over Texas was probably the first time I visited. That was, I would say 1997, because I vividly remember Mr. Freeze being under construction. It was just kind of, I knew about Six Flags, but I had never gone, so it was really fun to go. I vividly remember, various little things, like walking in and seeing the carousel, seeing Shockwave, the jumping fountains, in the Looney Tunes area that no longer exist. Fiesta, Texas. My favorite memory, so my first visit to Fiesta, Texas was in 2007. Favorite memory was probably when I went back in 2009 and really soaked in all of the live shows. I was very blown away by their arsenal of entertainment offerings, and their entertainment department, it seems like it's probably been cut by 2/3 since then, but I do think they still do a pretty good job with what they're given. So that's probably my favorite memory there. Cooking with Chris. Chris, what are you cooking? I love food. I don't know if y'all notice. I love food. Do I think Six Flags Over Texas will get sold? Anything's possible. I don't know if it's the first park kind of on the thought process, but we'll see. It's definitely possible. Brian Cunningham says he loves the mobile ordering app. Yeah, the Six Flags mobile ordering app is super awesome. I understand why you can't use it when you're not at the park. They don't want people making rogue, orders and stuff like that. But I do wish that, more people could access it from outside the park and, see actually how the thing functions and what's available, because it's really good. Jay said he's been going to Fiesta, Texas for a couple of weeks, that the employees are doing a great job. That's awesome to hear. I haven't heard anything crazy coming out of Fiesta, Texas, so sounds like they're still keeping up with everything they're doing. And Lisa, I bought a season pass online hoping to visit the park in Upper Marlboro, Maryland, which is Six Flags America. I made reservations and then canceled. Your pass is good. It should tell you on the member portal online, but I think it's good until the end of the operating season. Now, if you purchased it before the park's closed for COVID, you should have whatever length of time the park was closed while you had the pass. If that's 2 months, then you should have 2 months on the back end of that. But I would, it's kind of crazy. It's different at each park, so I would definitely contact member services online with questions about that. Unfortunately, we're kind of just in a stuck situation. The parks did not create COVID. We didn't create COVID. So it's a tough situation for everybody. Roy said, been expecting the log ride to close. Only thing it has going for it is the history. Yes, I 100% agree with you on that. MHS 0407, I like the new parking social distancing. Yeah, no more dents in the car for sure. The parking lots are kind of a free-for-all, it seems like. So I do like that they took into account the whole social distancing thing and put that in the parking lot. The timed entry has also been great at Six Flags. I really, it seems to be going really well. There's never really a moment of overwhelmingness when I'm at Six Flags, just because of the way they've planned everything out and spaced everything out. So Courtney is asking about Fright Fest, and Jay is asking about Fright Fest, and I did answer that once. I know it's going to come up a bunch, so I'll kind of glaze over it again. I think they're going to try maybe some kind of modified Fright Fest experience. Maybe not haunted houses, maybe not scare zones, but maybe some decor. Maybe if they can do some outdoor shows, which Fiesta Texas is very capable of. Six Flags Over Texas could be capable of that if they gave it a shot. They have plenty of outdoor stages. We'll just have to wait and see. There's varying efforts, I feel like, that are probably going to come from the parks on that. Jay, I did get the survey about Fright Fest, and I thought there were some pretty interesting concepts in there. So we'll have to see kind of what they drum up. I do think that they're trying to be as creative as they possibly can in a time where it's very hard to be creative. So we'll just have to wait and see. Chris, I will check out your YouTube channel. That sounds like fun. Wes, new attractions may be hard to come by for the next couple of years. Where do I see future expansion spaces being at the parks? Six Flags Over Texas doesn't really have an area to sufficiently expand anymore. They kind of did a really underwhelming job expanding into that last corner of land that they owned. So kind of is what it is. You basically just have a big old patch of blacktop in that back corner and some clones, you know. Fiesta Texas, they definitely have room kind of on their boardwalk. That's really kind of it. Fiesta Texas doesn't have a ton. I think they have land up kind of, if you get on Google Maps and you look at the water park, they kind of have land kind of up back behind the water park, so there might be some expansion in the water park, but I think they're pretty set in the layout that they have now. Everyone is super obsessed with them building another coaster that flies off the quarry wall, but because the wall is made out of limestone, and limestone is such a soft material, they have to do tons of legwork to actually make something work. So it requires an additional, few $1 million just to put a ride on the quarry wall. So I don't really think that's an option for Six Flags. What I'm really hoping that Six Flags does, and this is going to sound crazy, is, instead of building all these rides each year, actually invest in what's going on in the park. Work on the infrastructure. There's tons of buildings at Six Flags Over Texas that are quite frankly falling over. And I've gone back and forth about doing a video on just how bad of shape Six Flags Over Texas really is in. The fact that it constantly floods doesn't help. And that kind of goes back to the other thing, Wes. Half of that park is a floodplain, at least half of it, and it's gotten worse and worse and worse. And that also hardcore limits what you can do with the space you have, which is, kind of what happened with Lone Star Theater, and, kind of what happened with, Gold River, Gold River Adventure got completely destroyed. And I think to bring that ride back, they've kind of got to put it back as it was. And I just don't know if it's worth it. That ride was not in good shape. Over Texas and, Fiesta Texas, there's a very, different kind of situation going on in terms of infrastructure. Fiesta Texas was built in 1992, and the buildings were built not by Six Flags. They were built by Gaylord, and they were built with the intention to last a long time. So Fiesta Texas does not deal with the building issues and the deterioration that Over Texas deals with, so it's much easier to maintain, and they do not have the horrendous flooding issues that Over Texas has. There's a lot of people try to compare the two parks, and I mean it's a very different land from one to the other. So, it's tough to do that, to compare the two, the quality of the two. There's plenty of rotting wood at Fiesta, Texas. Let's not beat around the bush here. Plenty of rotting wood on those buildings. So it just looks different. Yeah, and in terms of the TLC, it would be great for them to enhance theming, bring back more robust entertainment options. It's kind of a vicious circle, at least with Six Flags Over Texas, where they throw out the same show year after year after year. It's less popular year after year after year, and less impactful each year. And then the park wonders, oh, why doesn't no one want to see the shows? It's because there's no innovation, there's nothing new, and people get sick of that. People aren't stupid, and I think they really try to flirt with how stupid they think the general public is. I don't think it goes very well for them. Yeah, happy 5445 SFOT. They have several outdoor stages. I do think that social distancing at a lot of those would be a little tricky. But if they set up barricades and they set up social distancing on the floor and had ushers actually monitoring that, then I think they'd be in pretty good shape. You have, Texas Arena. It's 2,500 seats. If you're not doing haunted houses in there, tear down the dilapidated set and you could do some kind of show in there for Fright Fest. It doesn't have to be crazy. It could just be, some kind of dance show. You have Music Mill. You could do a show in there. It's not impossible. I work in the live entertainment industry. It's not impossible. And you would be able to maintain social distancing in that venue extremely well. I just don't know how good of shape Music Mill is in. It's probably not in great shape. Let's see, James Williams. There should be a link in the description below to our merch shop. You can purchase the Big Ben t-shirt there. And Wes, who's actually in the chat here, he actually helped design this. So shout out to Wes for helping with that. He helped design recreate the original Big Bend font, and we worked together on the track layout. So, turned out really well. I really like the shirt. The print came out well, so no complaints. Roy said SFOT in Old Texas, there's most of the flood area. Yeah, I mean, the Texas area is really bad. Boomtown is also really bad. Tower is really bad. I mean, that's already half the park. So, let's see. Yeah, I mean, what are they going to build if they knock down the theater by Shockwave? It's a floodplain, so what are they going to build? Also, it costs money to knock things down, and I don't think those are costs that they're exactly super fond of right now. So, yeah, Jay, Superman turned out great. It gives you a good view of the quarry wall. It's a fun floorless coaster, so... OT, yeah. I think that Over Texas has some great rides, and Fiesta Texas has definitely added a handful of pretty good rides lately. For a while, they didn't really have a lot of rides, so nice to see them kind of fill that in a little bit more. One thing that y'all might find interesting is that Six Flags Over Texas was actually built to only last 5 years. So Angus G. Wynn built the park. It was only going to be open for 5 years. He saw the success of Disneyland, wanted to capitalize on that success in Texas. So the park was supposed to operate for 5 years, and they were going to take the revenue they made from the park and actually invest that into other projects. So there's a lot of weird, sacred talk about what Angus G. Wynn would think of Six Flags Over Texas, and his main focus and his main passion was not a theme park. So that's not to say that they didn't do a great job when they first opened the park, Um, but I'm just saying it wasn't a long-term project, and a lot of the buildings that are falling over right now, you have to realize that those were built to last the 5 years. Now keep in mind, if maintenance was regular on the structures, it wouldn't be in the same situation, but it is kind of nice to think of and keep in the back of your mind when you're thinking about it. Two Real Geeks said, love what you do at Texas. We cover over Georgia. Well, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. The last time I was at Six Flags Over Georgia was 2016. I went for Holiday in the Park. That was before I was really making videos, but I was very impressed with the Holiday in the Park. A lot of the rides were closed, unfortunately. I was really hoping that I could ride their version of Justice League Battle for Metropolis, but it was closed. But Christmas lights and the shows, their show budget is obviously very low because the production value of it is very low. But I thought that the performers were doing a great job, and I thought I enjoyed it. Yeah, Roy, it's kind of crazy. If you look at the history of Six Flags Over Texas, it was sold off fairly early, just to various companies, which it's kind of gotten it to the point of where it is now. Um, yeah, it's really interesting. There's a lot of nostalgia involved with Six Flags Over Texas, but sometimes it's good to just know, to just put it in perspective of what's going on. Um, let's see. Thank you, Wes. We are working on the next Decade in Review video. Those things are killer. It's been a while since we've done one of the Decade in Review videos, and one of the main reasons for that is I kind of took a step back. During quarantine, I actually read a book, The First 50 Years of Six Flags Over Texas. You can buy it on Amazon. Highly recommend reading that book if you're curious about Six Flags history. There's a couple conflicting things in that book, just based off of the other information and photos that I have, but overall, it seemed like a pretty accurate book. There's a lot of really awesome pictures in that book as well. If y'all have been to parktimes.com, the gentleman who runs that website wrote the book and published the book. So, but I took information from that book and kind of rebuilt the history timeline on SFOT Source, got more information, so that when we're making some of these older Decade in Review videos, they're more robust, there's more data, maybe some things that you didn't know. And that Decade in Review video for Six Flags Over Texas, I am planning on pushing that out Friday or Saturday. So we're kind of on the final stages of getting that video ready. I think it turned out really well, so I'm looking forward to getting that out to y'all. And yeah, Freedom Land, it was very interesting. So I've looked at that park a little bit. I love old defunct theme parks. So I'm gonna wet the whistle here with some sweet tea real quick. Holiday in the Park first debuted at Over Texas. Yes, that is correct. It's actually not super old. I believe the first year of Holiday in the Park was 1989, but they did do some Christmas events. They, I think, kind of tested the waters for a few years and then actually did a full-fledged event. So our history timeline kind of has that information on there. Cooking with Chris, they need to redo Mr. Freeze. I'm kind of curious to ask why, and I also want to know if you rode Mr. Freeze when it had over-the-shoulder restraints. Aiden, is Looney Tunes the theme of Six Flags? I don't know if that's a smart question or a legitimate question. They've had a long-standing licensing with Looney Tunes. To be honest with y'all, if they were going to get rid of one licensing agreement, it's probably Looney Tunes. So we'll see how that goes. Two Real Geeks over Georgia just got a new Christmas stage show last year. That's awesome. I wish y'all had more indoor performance venues. I know that the one collapsed on itself. That's a very Six Flags thing to have happen. Love the Big Ben shirt. Why is the year it closed not on there? I don't know. We just decided to do the established in 1971 part. No real reason. This is just the design of the shirt. So yeah, I'm kind of hoping that at some point they flip Mr. Freeze back around, the whole reverse blast thing. It's been fun, but I would love for them to flip it back around at some point. Yeah, the Mr. Freeze theming is interesting. The creepy ice cream truck music was lots of fun. It's just not really something they pay attention to these days. I will say this. Okay. So at some point, the Mr. Freeze animatronic that's pretending like it runs the ride actually kind of disappeared. And then it reappeared as a new version that actually works. So they did do that. It's kind of the one weird, interesting, bizarre thing that happened with Mr. Freeze and theming. So it was kind of cool to see that. I don't know if they did that on their own will or if DC Comics said you need to fix that. That could definitely go both ways. I do think Six Flags gets a lot of pushback from their licensing agreements on how things are kept up, and I think on certain situations they have no choice but to make certain enhancements and upkeep on things. So, Jay Kite, do you think we will get any Ace events for the rest of this year or just wait till next year? I think it's all really up in the air. I think Ace is being very smart with the current situation. They know that it's not really a super great idea. Now, they've had a few small events here and there, but I think because some of the events attract 100 or more people, I don't think it's super logical for them to try to do one of those events right now. We're definitely not out of the weeds right now with what's going on, and it affects some people really badly. It affects some people not at all. So I think Ace is being very mindful of that. I'm not saying there's not going to be an event, but it's not going on. That doesn't really seem like anything's going on right now. They did the online coasting for kids, or not coasting for kids, Coasterthon. Gosh, wrong thing. They did the virtual CoasterCon thing. Ace did. It was really fun. Kind of made the best out of a bad situation, but they are planning on doing CoasterCon along the East Coast next year instead. So hopefully by next summer things are a little bit more normalized. We can only hope at this point. Let's see. I've actually met Savage Mister a time or two. He's a really nice guy. It's unfortunate to hear that his dad passed away. So my thoughts go out to him. Cooking with Chris. They need to make Mr. Freeze higher. The technology on Mr. Freeze is incredibly outdated, so I don't think I would wish for that. Um, yeah, so the Six Flags music situation is kind of interesting. If you go to Over Texas in the France section, they're playing French music. If you go to the Mexico and Spain sections, they are playing Latin music. It's just not the classic old school stuff. It's the mainstream. Like the one day I was there, they were playing Selena, which I do think that they're just trying to cater to their current audience and just play relevant music. Um, they if you go into like Texas and you go into Old South, they're just kind of playing country music that's um, been mainstream. I mean, some of those songs are like 10 years old now, so they haven't really changed a lot of that. It would be nice to have some of the old music come back, but if you're not going to focus on the theming of the park, I'm not really sure it matters. And I'm kind of to the point of, it is what it is. I'm not gonna be sad about what's going on. The park kind of is what it is. Fiesta Texas, it just seems like they kind of play whatever. The boardwalk has a very interesting mix of music. Um, I don't know. Um, I don't even know. I think Tower is just normal pop music. Gotham City is just normal pop music. I don't really pay attention anymore. What's let's see. Did they change the seating on Titan? I remember it with over the shoulders. No, Titan never had over the shoulders. Giovanola, which is the manufacturer of Titan, that was never a thing that they did on any of their 3 roller coasters that they built. Well, they have an inverted coaster, so that one I'm sure has over the shoulders, but like Goliath at Magic Mountain doesn't have over the shoulders. It's the same train. They did add seatbelts to the train, and that can be attributed to the Texas Giant accident that happened a handful of years ago. Yeah, I think Six Flags and Ace, it's a different relationship at each park. Luckily, at Fiesta Texas and Over Texas, the relationship is super great. So the parks tend to seem to go out of their way to really make the events go well. So, yeah, SFOT News, they need to repaint Mr. Freeze. They need to repaint every single thing in that park. They've repainted a few things here and there, a few building structures. They haven't really done any rides lately. So, yeah, it's just kind of I mean, they repainted Oil Derrick. It looks great. But there's lots of things that need to be repainted. So, it's just not something they're focusing on, unfortunately. The France section, I don't know what's going on there. It really only had one thing anyways, which was LaSalle's River Adventure, and that was when the park opened. That went into the early 80s, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly. They removed LaSalle's, so there was really nothing back there for a while. In 1994, which I actually go in on this on our next Decade in Review video, in 1994, the entrance to Roaring Rapids actually moved to France. So the big gates that used to be there that they tore down to build the trash dumpster, that was actually the entrance to LaSalle's River Rapids. And so you would actually walk through that area, and Roaring Rapids was themed to France, sort of, I guess. They did have some kind of fun little animatronic things in the queue from the videos and pictures I've seen. But then in 1998, they moved the entrance back over to where it is now in the tower section, renamed it Roaring Rapids. France fell into the abyss. I just think France is a hard area because it's so small. And yeah, there's not really much you can do. I was secretly hoping that when they took out Crazy Legs from Gotham City, they would put it in France in that kind of little open area that they have back there, but they put trash compactors there instead. So I guess that's not happening. Let's see. Yeah, Georgia, it kind of sounds like Georgia's playing the same thing the other parks are playing. Um, Jay asked, is Mr. Freeze the same as Poltergeist at Fiesta, Texas? It is the exact same ride technology, but it is obviously a different layout and a different ride experience. It's the exact same trains, the exact same launch system. The main difference is Poltergeist does a full loop. Mr. Freeze, shoots out backwards, comes back forwards. So, someone asked if I would ride Daredevil Dive. Yes, I will ride Daredevil Dive when it opens, and we'll see how it is. Spinny rides are definitely interesting. Happy 5445, he asked, is France where the skull thing used to be? No. Skull Island used to be basically kind of where Runaway Mountain is now, and back behind that towards Tower, if that makes sense. So when they built Oil Derrick, they kind of cut down Skull Island by adding Oil Derrick in, and then as time went on, Skull Island just kind of vanished. But it was back in that area. And Roaring Rapids kind of also takes part of that area too. So we have tons of old park maps on SFOT Source. If you go look at the old park maps, you can kind of see where Skull Island was situated. And we'll talk about it once we make those Decade in Review videos. Can't you see some of the Crazy Leg cars under Titan? The whole ride is under Titan. Whole thing is there, so I don't know what's going on with that. It's just there. I hope it gets rebuilt. It's a really good flat ride. Was really reliable. SFOT News. I loved the Pirate Haunted House in France. Yeah, the haunted house was fun. They had some other outdoor haunted houses on that same area before Skullduggery was there. So they used it for that for quite a few seasons. I guarantee you that haunted house is still back there, just rotting away. Bring back Gator McGee's. Yeah, why not? I'm not really into the JB's barbecue thing. I'm not really sure Gator McGee's had better food. I think that the chicken plantation that was originally in that restaurant probably had better food. But I did like the Gator McGee's theme better. Speaking of Gator McGee's, I heard that the air-conditioned eating area that they built onto the back of JB's Smokehouse Barbecue is done and open, so that's pretty awesome. They did get one of their projects done this year. It's always good to have more air-conditioned seating. So, we'll have to check that out next time we're out there. Y'all can keep that Panda Express. I don't need none of that. Chop 6 is not the greatest thing that's ever happened in life. It tastes much better at Six Flags Over Texas than it does at Fiesta, Texas. But it's nice that they have the Asian dining option on the dining pass and as a discount if you don't have a dining pass. So Wes said seems to really like Chop 6. Yeah, Chop 6 is a pretty good bet. I would put it in kind of my top 5 at the Texas Taco Bar is definitely the best place out there. Oliver's Tavern, where they have the cheesesteaks, that place is pretty good. And what else? Ma Hunkles, where they have the wings and the sauce. That's good. They have the potato wedges. I'm a big fan of the potato wedges. Just saying. I love to eat. Let's see. Jeremy, I think planning a trip is completely up to you. If you're comfortable with what's going on with COVID, then by all means, do it. I think that the parks are doing a really good job. It's just you getting to the park. I'm not sure how I feel about staying in a hotel right now. I know hotels are saying that they're doing cleaning, but that seems like kind of a gray area for me. I think airplanes are kind of a gray area. There's no way to escape the people that are on the airplane with you. And I'm not scared of the virus. I do plenty of public stuff. It's just, it is what it is. I just use your best judgment. Make sure the park is open. Make sure you kind of research what's going on. I can try to help you if you have questions. It's really up to you. There's lots of people who are being very safe, lots of people who are being very careless. So, it is what it is. Daryl, love your SFOT reviews. Thank you. Speaking of SFOT reviews, planning on going out to Six Flags Over Texas later this week to do kind of another trip report. It's very hard. I mean, there's not a lot of stuff going on at the park, with how limited everything is. So there's not a lot of, I can't really think of a lot of content to give you all on another review out there, but we're going to go out there and I'm actually going to talk about my wish list and kind of go around the park and talk about my wish list for things that they can do in future years. And we'll touch on Aquaman and all that. So that video is probably going to come across as a little shady, but comes out of a place of love. So make sure y'all stay tuned for that. Let's see. What do I think of Six Flags leaning heavily into the Looney Tunes and DC themes? I'm indifferent. I mean, they're not... If they were building more inspiring rides and not just a bunch of clones, then it might be one thing, but it's just... You're building the same ride that's down the street. I don't really care what you call it. We got a ride. Cool. I don't know. I know a lot of people are really jaded about how the parks have gone, but that's what Six Flags is now. I don't know what to tell you. Thoughts on the original freefall rides? They're terrifying. Cliffhanger at Six Flags over Texas is the only one I ever went on. It was terrifying, but it was also super fun. Let's see. Yeah, SFOT news. I'll look at that eating area when I'm there and kind of see if maybe it's not completely done yet. I don't know. Yeah, I think the Six Flags parks are the cleanest they'll ever be right now. And like Wes said with the whole social distancing and washing your hands things, the Six Flags parks seem to be really on top of everyone in terms of making sure people have masks on, making sure they're staying away from each other. So I really think it's just the travel and the hotel thing that is kind of the gray area. I don't think you have a really... I don't think it's going to be shady when you go to the park, if that makes sense. I think SeaWorld down the street is doing a much worse job. So let's see. Have you seen the Intamin new rides, promotional videos? What are your thoughts? Do you see them at Six Flags parks? I've seen them. They kind of just look like expanded ideas of things that are already happening. So I'm kind of indifferent on it. The Giga Splash or whatever it's called, that thing looks pretty cool. It looks like maybe they're taking an old ride concept that they had before and trying to actually make it work. So we'll see. We'll see if anyone actually buys any of that new stuff. I do not think Six Flags is going to be in the business of buying any high dollar roller coasters or anything for the time being. Do you think Fiesta Texas will add a new food place sometime soon? That would be great. They could get rid of a few food places for all I care and replace them with something new. I love what they did at Totally Kickin' Chicken. They added the new fry concepts and they added the wings and the different sauces. I love that idea. So if y'all haven't checked out Totally Kickin' Chicken at Fiesta Texas yet, I highly recommend that. Generally, the food at Fiesta Texas is really rough. So, I mean, literally anything that they could do to improve that would be very welcome. But I don't exactly picture a new food place actively happening. They are supposed to remodel Sangerfest Hall, but that doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be new food in there. And who knows where that project is at this point. I don't even think they've started it at all. Let's see. What ride should leave over Texas? The bobsled, Lavi Bora. I think it's gonna see its way out here, in the next handful of years. But we'll see. Not really into it. And they might be able to fit something decent in that little spot too. Not saying that they would, but they might be able to. Liam asked, have you been to Hurricane Harbor, Arlington since they reopened? I've actually seen a lot of horror story pictures from that place. I don't think I'll be going in there anytime soon. And yeah, Jeremy, what you're saying about doing the clones and the price, I mean, Six Flags is so ridiculously cheap to get into. I mean, they practically give everything away. And when I see people complaining about the price of, people complaining about the price, it's hilarious to me because it's so cheap. It's like insanely cheap. So, but yeah, I mean, number one, even though Six Flags is turning, I'm not going to say number one, this is just one point. Even though Six Flags was turning pretty good profits for a while, the whole thing is completely controlled by investors, and the percentage that they're giving out on dividends back to their investors is insane. So there's really not a lot of money for improvement, and it's kind of unfortunate. SFFT needs a taco bar. Yeah, I, for the love of me, do not know why Fiesta Texas does not have a taco restaurant. That's pretty mind-blowing. Let's see. Knowing the food is a bit rough at Fiesta Texas, what eatery do you recommend? Totally Kickin' Chicken that I just talked about. It's a pretty solid place. Haven't had any issues there since they redid the menu and added all the new items. If you like nachos, which is actually a main food group of Six Flags, their main food groups, nachos, barbecue sauce, ranch dressing, and cheese sauce. Those are the 4 main food groups of every Six Flags park. The Aztec Nachos stand at Fiesta Texas is pretty good. And, I would definitely check out Aztec Nachos. They got some, if you have a dining pass, you can make away with a lot of really good food. So, Aztec Nachos, Totally Kickin' Chicken. Bubba's River Cafe has been pretty safe the last few times I've gone. But there's not really, I hate to say it, there's not a ton of unique stuff going on there. Yeah, I mean, Six Flags is, yeah, I mean, it's definitely the lower end chain. The quality of SeaWorld is quite a bit higher. SeaWorld and Busch Gardens parks. The quality of Cedar Fair is a lot higher. Um, when I saw that when I saw that Six Flags was teasing purchasing Cedar Fair, I was terrified. Um, so I need Six Flags to stay away from Cedar Fair because Cedar Fair has been doing a great job with their concept. Yeah, Jeremy and Jay. My I have a Diamond Elite and then I have a Dining Pass. Because as you all see, a lot of the time I actually ride rides or at Ace events. When I'm going out and doing videos on the parks, I don't actually ride a lot of stuff because I'm occupied with doing the video, so I don't have the Flash Pass or anything like that. But I think I pay like $25 a month for a Diamond Elite Pass that comes with reserved parking, 50% off almost everything, lunch, dinner, snack each visit. I mean, it's a steal. Like they're just giving it away. And they're giving it away because the pricing of food and that kind of stuff has gone up dramatically over the last few years. The Chop 6 is Jim Ingram said the Chop 6 is definitely not the same at Fiesta Texas. No. It's not the same. And they always seem to be out of stuff when I go to Fiesta Texas, which is kind of weird. Jay, that's unfortunate to hear that Bubba's has been bad lately. I really love the Sidewinder fries that they offer there now, but it's unfortunate to hear that it's not going as well. The chat has been slowing down a little bit, and we're about an hour and 7 minutes in this, so if y'all have any final questions, feel free to shoot them back at me. Just to recap a few of the things that we're working on right now as a channel. We'll be back out at Six Flags Over Texas later on this week. That video is mainly going to just be me. We'll check in on all of their COVID things and kind of see how things are holding up and how the guidelines are holding up, and then I'm actually going to walk around the park and kind of put together a wish list for you all of things that I hope will happen over the next few years at Six Flags Over Texas. There's all these really weird videos that kind of circulate around, and it's like the 5-year plan of Six Flags Over Texas, and it has all of these crazy, bizarre ideas that would never happen because those people have no idea how Six Flags functions. And I'm not going to focus on rides. I'm going to focus on things around the park. And, I'm going to focus on things that I want them to work on around the park and that I hope they work on. So, decade in review video for Six Flags Over Texas, 1990 to 1999. That's going to be coming out either Friday or Saturday. We're working on the finishing touches of that. Turned out, I feel like it turned out pretty good. So for all you history buffs, I hope you enjoy it. We are definitely going to participate in this year's Coasting for Kids fundraiser. It's only happening at Fiesta Texas this year, but we're going to get that going. And like I said before, merchandise sales and any money that we made on Patreon, that's all going to be donated to that charity. The charity is Give Kids the World. I highly recommend you all check them out. They need a lot of help right now with the pandemic, and they are rated really highly amongst various charities. So let's see. What do I think of Titan? It's fine. It's not my favorite ride there. I would definitely put Giant, Shockwave, and Mr. Freeze over Titan. They're selling Daredevil dive merch already. Okay, cool. Thanks for stopping by, Jim. I really appreciate you stopping by. When will I try to make it to Fiesta? I'm really on the fence about it. I don't have a good reason to go. They haven't opened their new ride. They're running limited function. I would love to get out there to see the shows, but the shows are ending already. What is today? The 27th. So it's like about to be. It's like the last week of their summer shows. So, I don't really have a big reason to be out there, and I don't really have a good game plan for getting to San Antonio and all that. So I'm just probably not going to get out there anytime soon. But I am keeping track of what's going on at Fiesta and keeping SFFT source updated so that there's current information. Rachel said, I usually try to eat before I go to the park. The prices at the park are yikes. Yep, the prices are really crazy for food. If you don't have a dining pass or you don't have one of the top level discounts, it's not really worth it. So I totally get that. Do I think we will have a Six Flags announcement video this year? It's not really any reason for them to do that because most of the rides that they set up for this year are not happening. So they're just opening next year. So probably not. They also don't have Jim Reed Anderson there to do a bunch of stupid stuff. So they have a CEO who seems much more level-headed and such. So I wouldn't expect any new rides like Carlos said. I wouldn't. It doesn't seem feasible with the current financial climate of America and the pandemic and all that. Judge Roy Scream, I think a lot of people really crap on Judge Roy Scream, and I'm not going to say it's anything crazy or special, but it's not a bad ride, and I don't see it going anywhere. So if they tore it down, I don't really think they could build anything there, so they might as well keep it. But I want to thank everyone for joining me on the live stream. Thank you for all the questions. Appreciate y'all tuning in, watching all the videos. Make sure y'all check out our websites for all of your Fiesta Texas, Six Flags Over Texas info. Be on the lookout for some new videos. Check out our merch store if you liked this shirt. We have a couple other kind of vintage shirts going on. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. So that's going to do it. If y'all want to see more live streams, I can try to do those, but I'm not doing too many for now, but we'll see in the future. So y'all have a good evening, and take care of one another and be safe.